Hey everybody, welcome back to Dave's Open Range. We're going to make a cherry dessert this morning. It's in the morning. It's going to be we're going to have this in a couple hours for a brunch. I've got some freshly picked Montmorency cherries from yesterday at the farm. You've been there. And this should be a pretty quick video, but it's going to be a rustic tart, otherwise known as a galette. And so kind of like a pie, but with an open top, so some of the juices can come off and it won't be runny. As you know, baking with berries can be a matter of juice control. So we'll talk about that as we go. And while I got you, don't forget to subscribe and like the videos and stuff. So leave comments if you want on what you'd like to see. So don't forget to do all that. Let's get going. And I got the oven preheating to 375. And let me zoom the camera in a little bit and we'll proceed. Okay, so these are I picked these yesterday. They were in the fridge overnight and I pitted them this morning. They're pretty easy to pit. Just squeeze the pit out. Took me about 5 minutes. That's only about a cup and a half of cherries. The rest are still in the tree. They weren't quite ready. There's already a fair amount of juice forming up. And like I said, cooking with berries can be touchy to not have it so juicy and runny. So I'm going to add about a half a cup of sugar and no spices. These cherries are so good that no cinnamon, no brown sugar, that sort of stuff. That's a couple, let's call that a couple tablespoons of flour. And I'm going to just, that's it right there. I'm going to just stir that around a little bit. And that's the filling right there. It's that simple. You can use pie filling out of a can, although it's 30% is good. The best is just frozen cherries. You can usually buy Montmorency cherries. They're tart, they're not sweet, which make them great for baking. So those are the best for pies, for tarts, and that sort of thing. So I'm not going to make a ton of crust, but maybe a cup and a third of flour, and put this together quick with some shortening. It's going to be shortening. It's going to be a pretty simple crust. So that's about a third of a cup. You can get some butter. A little butter is good in here for the color, and the salt. I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons of butter. Just going to hunk that up and cut it in with the pastry cutter, and then salt and sugar, and that's going to be it. Then we'll use milk. So pardon the hands, they are clean. So a couple tablespoons of sugar just to sweeten that up, and salt is important. Maybe not quite a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to just cut that in with the pastry cutter. One of my favorite baking tools. You can use a fork, you can use your bare hands, but this is worth the $8 or $10 it takes to get one just for this. I'm not into specialty gadgets, but this is key for making biscuits and pie crusts and that sort of thing. So it just granulates your fat in there nicely, and that's about it already right there. I'm going to add our liquid in and form this tart up, and we're going to brush the top of it with a little something I'll show you in a sec, just to spice it up, not spice it up, brighten it up a little bit. And we're going to use milk for the liquid. You can use water. You can use buttermilk. So I like to work it minimally. Otherwise, you really don't want to incorporate that fat into the flour. If you do, then you won't get a flaky crust. You want to keep it minimally processed. Therefore, when you bake it, you'll get a nice flaky crust, flakier. So I'm trying not to stir it around too much, and I can can sort of form a ball with that. So I'm going to stop right there. And we're going to give that a quick roll. Let's some flour on our surface. I like to get my hands a little bit floury so they don't stick too bad. So yeah, that's going to be plenty of crust. Probably a little too much, but that's okay. So I'm going to form a ball and just shape it a little bit before I start rolling it. And a wooden rolling pin is the way to go. I like to keep it floured, otherwise if you get it all sticky and stuff, that's just frustrating. And then about halfway through, I like to flip it just to, I don't know, it tends to want to stick to the counter less that way. So not too thin. That's about good right there. And where's our oven at? 280, so we're getting close on that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this up on this baking pan. Just it is a non-stick pan, although it's pretty old, so it's fairly worn. I'm just going to lay that out. So far, so good. And put our cherries right there in the middle. And I think those are going to be good. They're not going to juice up too bad. This is going to be a little bit bigger than I was thinking. That's okay. And we don't want them too thick. Let's see how this goes. Now, I need to trim off, trim off a little bit of the excess here. We'll see. I am pretty experienced at pies, but I haven't done this often. But even if it goes badly, it'll taste great. Okay, so I'm gonna just, I'm not super into making it look perfect, but let's see, that's almost a little too much crust. Because I want a hole in the top so that juice can vent out, which is kind of the point. Otherwise, a pie like this or a tart like this can get way too juicy. So we'll sort of try to layer it over as we go, like that. And I think that's going to work. That's going to work. I think that's going to work. Heck yeah. Perfect. Okay. That's pretty much it right there. Now, next step is I've got an egg white and just a touch of milk, maybe a teaspoon, tablespoon, just to water it up a little bit. And pastry brush, again, I'm not too much into gadgets, but these are nice for brushing. And this will give it a really nice gloss, a glaze. And I'm going to put sugar on that. It'll hold the sugar, and it'll make it almost like a shell. It'll give it a nice shine. With the sugar on there, it'll harden up and make it more crusty and flaky, and just overall a better finished product. So just like so. And this works really good on pie too. Even if it's just a one crust pie to go around the perimeter, and gives it a really nice finish. So this is just my regular table sugar. There's the oven. I'm gonna give it a pretty liberal coating, especially because those cherries are tart, and you almost can't have too much sugar. Of course you can make it too sweet, but yeah, that's about great. All right. Again, there's no spices in there. Those cherries are farm fresh. They're kind of special because those are freshly picked off the tree. So it would be, hey, there's a pit. One pit. I knew that would happen. Right on top. Those are pretty special cherries, so I don't really want to spice them up with cinnamon or nutmeg or brown sugar or anything like that. Just cherries, salt, or no, there's no salt in there. Just cherry, sugar, flour. All right, let's get this in, and I'll bring you back and take a look at it, maybe give it a taste. I'm not sure how long that'll take, maybe 30 minutes. That was about the right amount of crust. Sometimes that's fun to make a little little, snack with. We'll see about that. Okay, we'll see you in a few minutes. Alright everybody, we're back. It's been maybe 30, possibly 40 minutes. I like to fully cook it. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. I haven't taken it out yet. I'm going to do that right now. We'll do this real time, live time. Got a couple of leaks, but that's okay. That makes a good part. So let's just see if it's stuck. It has a little bit. I'm going to put it on that cooling rack immediately. You can see it's bubbling a little bit in the middle. That's about perfect. You want it to bubble. That sort of cooks that flour. That'll make it thicken up. So it really needs to cool for a couple hours or more before you cut it, or else it'll be a bad runny mess. All right, get off of there. All right, that looks pretty good. Don't you think? So again, got to cool for a couple hours or more, almost preferably overnight. Then it gets nice and thick. When you cut it, it won't be runny much. And yeah, not bad for more or less the first try. I've made a ton of fruit pies. Again, you can make that with apples, any kind of berry. Apples are easy, they don't juice up quite as aggressively. So, but that's gonna be really good in a couple hours for a brunch on a Sunday. All right, thanks for sticking in till the end. And gosh, you never know what's coming up next. It depends on what's going on with the weather and whether it's food or farm or tools or bikes. All right, take care and see you next time on Dave's Open Range.